Hello everyone, JSGC here, and we are here for another Manchester City transfer update, talking about all the ins and outs with Manchester City. Before we crack on with this video though, make sure if you're new around here and you're enjoying the content, want to stay in the loop with all things Manchester City transfer news from now until transfer deadline day, then make sure you press that red button, subscribe, press the bell, put your push notifications on. I'll keep you up to date with all the things happening with Manchester City deals, ins and outs. Make sure also, if you're interested, you can go check out my social media links in description below and popping up on screen for my Twitter and Instagram. And also make sure you leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, as it helps me out, and also leave your thoughts in the comments below, because I'm always interested in what you do have to say. So we're going to crack on with the ins first, and we're going to be speaking about that potential Joao Cancelo and Danilo deal in the first update of the day. So various Italian sources have been saying that the fee will be believed to be around 30 to 35 million euro for Joao Cancelo plus Danilo, which may well be enough to get Cancelo. Now, earlier in the window, Juventus and Manchester City were talking about a potential 40 million euro deal and Danilo heading to Juventus, but Juventus said no. So I'm not too sure they're going to be settling for 30 to 35, but we'll just have to wait and see just how desperate Juventus are to sell. Now, Tuttosport over in Italy, they were reporting that a deal was close to being agreed and Cancelo could travel to England. That could even come this weekend at some point, and that's to discuss personal terms and also undergo a medical. Of course, the deal does have to be agreed first, and I'm not too sure anything's going to be agreed before the Community Shield. I think things are going to start warming up earlier into next week, so it's one for us to keep an eye on. Now, the Manchester Evening News, they were reporting that it won't be a swap deal involving the two players plus cash. Instead, it's going to be involving two separate deals for both players, which would see Juventus put in a bid and try and sign Danilo, and it would then see Manchester City put in a bid to try and sign Cancelo. Manchester City basically just need the fee agreeing for Cancelo, because they've already got personal terms apparently already agreed, and then a medical doing. Whereas with Danilo, Manchester City, it shouldn't be too hard for Juventus to get a fee agreed for him. However, I know the problems are coming in terms of personal terms, which I will speak about now. Now, Sky Italia yesterday were reporting that Danilo's agent has had first meetings with Juventus sporting director yesterday, and that was to talk about a potential move. He's flying back to London, I think, today to go and have a discussion with Danilo. City, of course, in London at the moment in time, or at least heading down to London today ahead of the Community Shield match tomorrow at Wembley. And so Danilo's agent wants to speak with Danilo to see what's being offered and what demands he wants to issue when they go back into a second meeting with the Juventus sporting director. But apparently, first figures put out, apparently Danilo's been offered €3.5 million a year in wages, which is a wage drop, because I do believe he's on roughly around €5 million at Manchester City per year, and so a bit of a compromise needs to be put there. However, Juventus are willing to put Danilo on a longer contract than Manchester City, so perhaps Danilo's going to have to take a wage drop or a small wage drop. We'll see if he's happy about that, whether he wants to go to Juventus, promise of game time there, or whether he's happy in Manchester. The way I've seen it is there's no smoke. We've got the smoke, but there's no smoke without fire, so we're just waiting for that fire, and that's, of course, the fees being agreed. And then we'll have to wait and see if things progress in personal terms or whether things collapse. Still a long way to go in this deal. I'll keep you up to date with that every step of the way. Now, speaking of right-backs, we'll move on to the next transfer target, which is the form of Dani Alves, who has found a new club, so he will not be joining Manchester City. He's signed for Sao Paulo over in Brazil on a free contract. He's been put on a 3-year deal, which should see Dani Alves see out the rest of his career, you would think, in Brazil. So there's one potential right back that Manchester City won't be signing. It was a right back that Juventus were possibly targeting, and also Barcelona too, which does affect the Cancelo deal. So we'll have to wait and see if Barcelona are sticking with what they've got, what Juventus do, and also what Manchester City do. Now, we've got an update on Harry Maguire. City have been linked with him all summer. Are we going to be chasing Harry Maguire? Can we get a deal agreed? Will he force through a move? Well, he has forced through a move, just not to Manchester City, but to Manchester United. Now, he's been persistent on trying to get his move to Manchester United. City were willing to go up to 60, even possibly £70 million. Manchester United blown out the water and agreed a deal with Leicester yesterday, which is a fee believed to be, get this, between £80 and £85 million, smashing the transfer record ever paid for a defender. Of course, Liverpool held that with a £75 million deal for Virgil van Dijk. So potentially, Harry Maguire's costing £10 million more than what Virgil van Dijk cost, which I find incredible. Now, he needs to still agree personal terms at Manchester United and have a medical ahead of that move. But yeah, pretty much we're going to be missing out on him, and it's amazing what being English does, being an England international, and also a hint of desperation in there does for a transfer fee. And by that I mean Manchester United picked up a serious injury to Eric Bailly. They need a defender quite desperately. They've been chasing Harry Maguire all summer. They're willing to pay over the odds. Leicester wanted even more, and then met a compromise by getting even more money than what Man United originally wanted to pay. Now, earlier in the window, I was saying that Manchester United were getting fed up of doing this, but yet they carry on doing this. It's not going to sort out Manchester United's problems. They need several players, a philosophy, and in my opinion, a better manager before things start to improve there. And so they're just throwing cash at players in positions and just hoping they'll gel, hoping they'll stick, and hoping that they'll do well. I feel like the day of these things happening and there being success at this moment in time is finished. Manchester City and Liverpool have led the way with specific philosophies, managers, trust, and bringing in players that suit systems. Would Harry Maguire suited Manchester City's system? Possibly, possibly not. I feel like Aymeric Laporte's the perfect player for Manchester City. Nice passing centre-back. Harry Maguire's a taller, more physical, more Premier League style defender. Would have suited Manchester City, particularly with defending set pieces in terms of build-up play. I had my doubts, which is why I wouldn't have paid an extraordinary world record fee, because you want the complete package, which is what Virgil van Dijk's turned out to be for Liverpool. United's paid over the odds, and I'll be honest, I'm happy that Manchester City haven't pursued. I'd have been happy with Harry Maguire, just not for that price. I'd have been extremely disappointed at paying and breaking our transfer policy for a player like Harry Maguire that has limitations and paying a world record fee for a defender for him. So, you know, we'll look elsewhere. You have to look elsewhere because the price is just a no-go. So we've been linked with another centre-back. This comes in the form of Ruben Diaz. Don't know a lot about him. Centre-back, plays for Benfica, 22 years old. He's highly rated by scouts. Sam Lee was talking about him yesterday, saying Man United are interested, Manchester City too. Has a release clause of €66 million. Some fans are saying that's a good price. Some fans are saying that's quite expensive. But apparently the player isn't ready to leave Benfica, certainly not in this summer anyway. And a new deal's been offered by Benfica. They're hoping to get him on a new release clause, which they want over €100 million. They like producing young players, Benfica. Joao Felix, just one of the players that they have managed to produce and been able to get triple-figure £1 million deals for. Of course, looking to possibly do this again in the form of Ruben Diaz. So we'll have to wait and see. But Manchester City, I found it interesting. Not so much the player, but City are now starting to flirt around with centre-backs. I find that interesting. Sam Lee was saying that Manchester City is still in for a centre-back, by the way, which I find incredibly interesting, and it contradicts what the Manchester Evening News reported in saying that Manchester City aren't looking for a centre-back. Manchester City's got 5 days here. Will they make another move for another player? We'll have to wait and see. I'm waiting to see who Leicester make a move for, because they're getting rumoured to be moving for Ake, a player that Manchester City have been interested in. So we'll have to wait and see what happens in terms of them deals. We'll move on to the outs now. We've got a little Leroy Sane update, certainly nowhere near as big as what yesterday's was, but German sources continue to waffle on about Leroy Sane, about how he's close to signing for Bayern Munich, how he's going to become the highest paid player in the Bayern Munich squad, how he's going to be the highest fee ever paid in a German player and the highest fee ever sold by an English club, blah, 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 blah. Pep Guardiola spoke about the situation yesterday. Bayern Munich refused to talk about the situation now. City have threatened complaints, by the way, about the continued tapping up, continuing to talk about a player that isn't theirs, which is quite frowned upon and extremely unprofessional at the very least. Pep Guardiola's been speaking about Leroy Sane. He's a Man City player. We're allowed to speak about Leroy Sane. He said that the stance is that he doesn't want to keep any player at Manchester City that does not want to be here, which is how it should be in my opinion. But he said that Leroy Sane basically hasn't expressed a desire to leave Manchester City, and so Pep seems incredibly calm, playing down the situation, saying that Manchester City won't be involved in any big dramas coming up from now until transfer deadline day. And to be honest, it oozed me with confidence. Now, the key to this transfer is to listen to reliable sources. And at the moment in time, as reliable as some German sources are, the sources coming in close to Man City are giving off more accurate information in terms of the Leroy Sane deal than any source that's coming in from the continent. Important is to listen to the sources close to Manchester City, and of course I'll keep you up to date with them sources when I do get information on him, but the information is at this moment in time is no update from yesterday, which is Manchester City wanting a big fee. Now, some sources over in Germany close to Bayern Munich were playing this down, saying that City do indeed want more than €100 million, but they don't think it's as high as €150 million. I don't think it's as high as €150 million either. I think that's what Man City is going to ask as their first offer. They know full well Bayern Munich won't pay that. They'll look to haggle. City are going to look here to try and get the maximum amount of money for Leroy Sane. This is a deal that, to me, if it does go ahead, probably won't go ahead until later into next week, possibly even transfer deadline day if he is to leave. But Leroy Sane, people have been criticising him, has actually handled himself fairly well here. Hasn't posted too much online, hasn't posted too much on social media, hasn't blurted his mouth out, hasn't expressed desires to leave, just got on with his job, and it wouldn't surprise me if he did start in the Community Shield, and if he didn't leave, he'd just continue doing what Leroy Sane has been doing now since he joined Manchester City, which is working and training and trying to get into the squad and scoring goals and doing what Leroy Sane does, which is assists and goals, and some performances get criticised, some performances get praised, and that's probably where we'll go from there. So we'll have to wait and see with that one, but at the moment in time, not too much of an update on Leroy Sane, which I want Leroy Sane to stay. I find that very good news when I don't get too much of an update on Sane. I don't think there'll be too much progress made this weekend, but the transfer deadline day is next week, so if there's ever going to be a weekend that's busy in transfers, it will be this weekend. Now, last but not least, in the outs, quick update on Claudio Bravo. Now, Club America over in Mexico, they're wanting a new goalkeeper. Identified Claudio Bravo as one of the goalkeepers that they do want. They were willing to match his wage that Manchester City are currently paying him, but he's told them no. He's happy in England. He wants to compete with Edison to try and get the Manchester City #1 shirt. Not too sure if he'll be able to do that or not, but I do admire his enthusiasm and commitment to Manchester City, which is exactly what you want from your players. So there we go, that has been the video. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, leave a thumbs up so I know that you enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe if you're new around here. Press the red button and press the bell. Put your push notifications on. It means you're subscribed and you've got your notifications on, being notified immediately when I have uploaded. Go and check out my social media links, Twitter and Instagram. You can find them links in description below and popping up on screen if you want to go and follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And don't forget, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you all again tomorrow for the next daily Manchester City transfer update. So it's been JSGC. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace. Ciao for now.